My name is Finola Keogh, and I'm joining you today from Cavan Institute, where I'm going to be speaking about how we transformed communications with three main stakeholders: our staff, our students, and our external authenticators. The communications platform that we were using previously to communicate with staff was our SharePoint site. Now, the old SharePoint site that we were using was very text heavy. It was, I suppose, made up primarily of folders with lots and lots of documents. There were duplicate folders. There was no real structure on it, and it hadn't really been planned out from the outset. It was high time really that we went about designing a new staff communications portal. So a team of us got together, we consulted with staff, and we drew up a structure for what this new SharePoint site would look like. All of the staff that worked on this, we are all teachers. None of us are IT teachers. We have good IT skills, but we don't have an IT background. So I'm just going now to click into the new staff SharePoint site. The interface, as you can see, is entirely different. It's highly visual. It is much more structured. When staff land at this SharePoint site, they are immediately given options as to where they want to go. The most common thing that they do when they go onto the SharePoint site actually is they go into their emails. But they were also given the option to access their calendar. So they can either go in through this link here, or they can just scroll a little bit down the page and they come up with this calendar, which has every activity that's happening day by day on a particular month. So if you click on a particular item, it will, jump out into a window and will give you further details. So the calendar is an extremely important aspect of the site, and one that staff use quite frequently. But the site is also divided up. There's a news section down here that gives important dates. It can give information about our open week. It can give information about something more around well-being. Up along the top, we have, I suppose, our shortcuts bar. We include here the areas that people most frequently visit. So within the teaching, learning and assessment area, we have a huge amount of information in the assessment area. Then we have templates and forms. We have a program section, a library, and then we have a teams section that links straight through to the teaching, learning and assessment team. Anything related to news and events around teaching, learning and assessment comes here, as well as information around our teaching and learning committee. So if we click into assessment, there are a number of subsets within assessment, as you can imagine, and it sort of mirrors the calendar year. So we start out our calendar year with our assessment packs, submitting our schemes of work and updating our assessment schedules. And then it gets into the more detailed things like learner feedback, and then things like, students wanting module exemption, internal verification and external authentication. Each of those, there's a page behind each of these links. And then finally, we're getting towards the end of the year, we have our exam schedules, exam boards, and the completion of exam processes. Posts and functions, we have, obviously, we have a number of post holders. So the whole post holder review process is managed, and the communications around that are managed through this particular page. And then functional areas, the functional areas that people will get information about on this particular page will be areas like marketing and promotions, or health and safety, anything around learning support, guidance, work experience, purchasing and stock control, and then the night school also has its own page. Then we have internal communication. So this is sort of maybe any other area that hasn't been covered by the previous areas. So anything to do with like staff meetings, annual reports, timetables and attendance, class tutors and class rep reports. We tried to construct it that it was not so much just documents being uploaded, but that there would be a narrative around it, that people can read and understand the purpose of, the document library. So the document library is important, and it's important to get the documents up there, but that there is also a necessity to explain to people, what is going on. Now here I am on the Cavan Institute webpage. So this is where students can access their new student hub or the student SharePoint site, as well as the kickoff point for where staff can get access to the staff site. So when I click on the student hub, this is where students will access their emails. They can also access their e-portal so that they can follow their attendance records and get reports. But this site is structured somewhat similar to the staff site in the sense that we have a news and information section, we have events and activities, a student supports, a jobs board and student life. And likewise, we also have the shortcuts bar across the top. This site is hugely important to students, and we can see from the analytics that the students are using it, quite frequently, and they're really kind of getting benefit out of the information that's shared. So our news and information, the sort of information that's shared here would be, for example, jobs that companies will share with us. Publications can cover anything from, we'll say, policies, from student agreements where they have, their student code of conduct. Or if there are any forms that they would need to download throughout the year. There's also some other useful information around, referencing and student handbook are contained in the publication section. Back to the home section, and in what we call the top section or our hero part, student supports are all listed here. So this gives students at the beginning of the year and throughout the year clear guidance as to where they can go if they need help with anything. So behind each of these pictures, there is a further page, which the staff from those particular areas have access to these pages and they can upload the content themselves. So, I mean, it has really made such a difference in making everybody in the Institute really independent users of this site. Students from getting the information and also staff from the point of view of uploading information. The Open Learning Centre, obviously, it has a huge amount of information it needs to share. We have information around Health Centre, ICT support and our chaplaincy service. But if I go into the Career Guidance Service just for a moment, we have 3 guidance staff here who, with a small amount of training, have become really keen users of this site, and they themselves manage this particular page, and they're able to keep the page updated with information around the service that they provide. At the moment, what's important to students is, I suppose, certification and appeals. So throughout the year, they would have been interested in Student Council, Board of Management, clubs and societies. But as I scroll to the bottom here, certification and appeals, we're at that time of year where students are eagerly awaiting their results. So this is a really good way of cutting down on the administration that has to go into managing appeals. So I suppose the key points that I would maybe point out to you about the development of those sites where consultation was key, testing was key. We monitor the analytics frequently, and we provide training. So there's a small group of us that started this out, but so many more teachers have now been trained, teachers and support staff. So the administration team also have skills to add content to this site. I'm thoroughly invested in this site, and I think that it has made a difference to communications at the Institute.
Hi, I'm Ciara Flynn and I'm one of the teachers in Cavan Institute. In this part of the video, we're going to show you how we organise our work using SharePoint to share with our external authenticators at the end of the year. We're going to start, first of all, by showing you one of the things we love most about Microsoft Teams, and that is its marriage with SharePoint. Every team that you have has its own dedicated SharePoint site, and everything that you do is backed up here. Anyone who is experienced with digital assessment will tell you that the first year is always the hardest. It can take some time to build up a system and flow that works really well for you. And often people will come back and say that it's a little bit too time consuming or too complicated if they don't have a good system worked out. It really doesn't need to be like that. And Microsoft Teams really does make everything an awful lot easier for the teacher. So first of all, I'm going to start off by showing you some tips that we shared with our teachers this year. to make sure that that process was as smooth and easy as possible. So I'm going to pop in here to my drafts where I have an assignment ready to go. One of the things that we did was we encouraged teachers to upload their brief and marking scheme as a document that the students were able to edit. This meant that the students were able to go in and sign the brief. They could view the marking scheme. If they wanted to, they could even use it as a self-assessment process. The teacher then has a copy of this marking scheme in the students folder on SharePoint, which we'll show you a little bit later. And it really saves the need for the teacher to have to be able to manage multiple files in multiple different locations. I'm now going to show you how to find that SharePoint site associated with your team. So I'm in the Posts tab in the General channel, and I'm going to click on the three-dot menu in the top right-hand corner, and I'm going to go to Open in SharePoint. I'm going to use the menu on the left-hand side to select Site Contents, and then I'm going to go into Student Work. So I have two folders here, Submitted Files and Working Files. Submitted Files is anything that the student has clicked the Turn In button for. Working Files is drafts that they've been working in. So I'm going to show you the Submitted Files folder. SharePoint has kindly organised for me a folder per student, which is fantastic. I didn't have to do any of this. And in each folder, I have a folder per assessment technique. So you can see that I have Assignment 1 and Assignment 2 here. If I click into Assignment 1, and you'll notice that I have my marking scheme along with the assignment that the student has uploaded. So you can see that SharePoint organises everything really well for the teacher without any extra effort on their part. At the end of the year, we shared our work for the external authentication process by using the share function here. So we used the share button to create a sharing link. And when we were in our dedicated SharePoint site, we then used the new menu to create a link. And this is great because it means that you're not duplicating work and you're not having to spend some extra time copying it over to another location. It's all here and ready to go.
Hi there, my name is Ashlene Kinnear and I'm a teacher at Cavan Institute, and I'd like to take you through how we prepare all of our student assessment evidence for our external authentication process. So if you look here, we have a student assessment evidence folder, and we have a folder in here for each one of the teachers in the institute. If I just click on mine for an example, you'll see that I have an assessment pack in here. So when the extern clicks on the assessment pack, they will get access to a list of internal verification forms. These are the modules that I teach, so this is where all of the student assessment evidence is stored. So for example, if I click on computer-aided drafting, there's quite a lot of information in here for the external examiner. Now, just for demonstration purposes, if I click on submitted work, a lot of our tutors like to use a variety of applications, whether it's Flipgrid or OneNote or Stream or Teams. One way in which work is submitted is on Flipgrid. So if I click on this Excel file, it actually creates a link to each one of the Flipgrid or the assessment piece by those particular students. So to get those links, it's really easy. So if you're in Flipgrid, all the tutor has to do is click on Export Data, and it exports it as a CSV file. Now there's a few extra columns in here. I'm just going to remove them. And what you want is the link to the actual assessment piece. If I just go back to my CI assessment, other ways in which teachers like to accept work is on Teams. So if I click on this link, it's a link straight into the actual team, and there is a folder in here for each student with all of their assessment evidence. So as you can see, there's no uploading or downloading of information. It's just literally creating links to work that's already on SharePoint. Other ways in which we provide evidence for the extern is in OneNote. So again, this is just an Excel file with links to each individual OneNote notebook for each student. So for example, if I click on this notebook, it brings me straight to that student and all of their evidence. To create these links, all you have to do is go into Class Notebook, Manage Notebooks, choose the actual notebook that you want to create links to, and then click on Parent and Guardian Links, All Students, and Get Links. Export it as a CSV file, and there it is with all the links there. Again, you've got the student name and an actual link just to their individual notebook. And again, saving this file as an Excel document and placing it up on the external drive for the external examiner. Another way we like to collect evidence is on stream. So this is just a link into a stream channel. And in that channel, we have all of the videos that are relevant to that particular assessment piece. And all they have to do is go to share, copy that link, and provide that link on our CI assessment. So when the external clicks on that link, it brings them straight into that channel.
Thanks for joining us today, and thanks to the organisers of VetFest for having us. We hope we gave you some food for thought, or maybe even some tips or tricks to help you with your own digital assessment journey. Thank you.